Hello, viewers. Welcome once again to Frank's Project Pause. I'm your host, Frank Owusu-Asamoah, bringing you yet another exciting episode where you can easily apply them in your line of work. We are once again brought to you by the kind courtesy of Certified Project Avenue. They are into project advisory, project consultancy, capacity building in project management. You can also rely on them for your end-to-end project management services. We are coming to you live from the studios of Eagle Eye Projects and Events. And this morning, we are bringing your way yet another educative and informative session. In our previous episodes, we have been having discussion with project leaders, astute and accomplished ones, and today is no exception. We are here with another accomplished project leader to help us do the discussion. He is a business leader and a certified project manager with over 2 decades of experience in delivering high-impact projects in energy, telecommunication, trade, among others, in and around Africa. He is skilled in program and project management, strategic execution, team leadership, and strong credentials in financial oversight, P&L management, and development finance. He is a result-driven professional with a track record of leveraging project management to drive operational excellence and sustainable development. This description would only befit such a person by name, Mr. Percy Antwi-Agyei. Percy, welcome to Frank's Project Pause.
Thank you.
Right. I see a very sweet, scented profile. Would you share with us how did you achieve all this within a decade or just a few years over a decade?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. How did I achieve all these? So it is leveraging the opportunities, the growth, the avenues, the tasks that come our way as we journey in our professional life. You know, as you begin life, especially in the professional setting, you are blessed to get different opportunities, different avenues, different openings to exhibit, to learn, and to capture or gather some knowledge. So when you put all that together at any point in time, it becomes the cumulative effect of what you have been exposed to, the friends you have come across, and the task or teams you have to work on and with. So that's it.
Right. That's interesting. I have seen quite a few project professionals who did not actually intend to enter into project management, but found themselves accidentally becoming project managers or project leaders. Is your situation different?
Well, the entirety of life is projects. So you may not consciously set out on the path of project management, unless maybe you have been exposed to what project management is at a very early age in your life, professional life. But that said, every person, one point or the other in their life, will be faced with an opportunity to manage a project. It may not be tagged a project. You may lose someone and you be part of the family funeral committee. They will ask you to manage the drinks. That is a project. So it is not like I planned to become a project manager. No, you don't normally set out like that. You may be in an office, you will just be asked to, maybe an HR, finance, or even IT professional. You'll be asked to coordinate the the end of year dinner. So that is a project.
Okay.
So when you get exposed to such activities over a period of time, then you see that you are building or cultivating those skills. And then you may, if you want, to now formalize it in a proper or a properly structured manner and then make a profession out of it.
Okay.
But other than that, everybody manages some project in their life one way or the other.
Okay. And to properly place it in a context, would you say your first job, maybe your national service or your first job after national service, was it in a projectized environment or a purely functional one? And how did you manage to let that lead you into project management?
Well, I did national service at GBC, so I was assigned to the radio studios. I remember because GBC under Dr. Imoro, I think, who was the director of engineering then, had a partnership with our institution, and they wanted some learnings. So I think a couple of us were assigned on developing a digital studio system. This is way back, 2001. Okay. So we did some work with Deutsche Welle then. So yes, when we finished the project, they took us on as national service. Okay. I wouldn't say it was a formally structured, projectized environment. Okay. But then you are assigned to task. So there is something that we are doing. Typically, we were working with the team from Deutsche Welle on improving their studio systems. I remember. Or once in a while, you'll be assigned to either the OB team. OB is outside broadcast, so you go and do broadcasting coverage. Yeah. So yes, it was not called a projectized environment, but everything that we did then was projects. Okay. So you join the team to go and cover a live match at the Accra Sports Stadium. That's a project. Okay, so that kind of things, and that is what birthed my interest in managing different activities. We didn't know what projects was.
Exactly. Yes. That's what I'm gathering. At this point, would you want our viewers to say, would you help our viewers to understand when we talk of a project, there are many people who think that it should be a road construction or a building construction. At this point, what in the simplest form is a project?
Well, I mean, most of life is a project. Life itself is a project. A project, basically, I mean, in a very layman's term, is you anything you want to do to achieve a certain result at any point in time is a project. Okay. So you want to organize a birthday party. Okay, your 10th year or 12th year or whatever year anniversary, you want to do that. That is a project. You want to, in the corporate setting, you want to change all the computers in your office because maybe they are outmoded. You want to let your office look very beautiful aesthetically. So that is a project. You want to upgrade software levels. That is a project. I understand why there is so much fixation on construction as projects because technically those are the things that we have called projects. Okay, there is a project to build. There is a project. So we have used the word project almost always to be aligned with something physically being constructed. But in the technical sense of the word, anything. In fact, there are more non-construction projects than there are of construction. But because it is not visible, it's not seen, you are cooking a meal, you are organizing a weekend outing with 5 of your friends. That is a project. But because you do not see anything physical as the output, you think that it is not a project. Yes.
Yeah. That's rightly so. Then when you look at the definition of a project by Project Management Institute, it talks about a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to produce a unique result. And these results can be a report, can be a structure like you mentioned, it can even be a process improvement, and the list goes on and on. So assuming an HR team or person has a recruitment drive coming up, would you say that HR person should approach this as a project? And if yes, is it a good thing, or would you say it's beneficial for an HR person to think of becoming a project manager or taking a project management course?
Yes, I mean, it's in the strictest sense of the word, it is a project. It is a temporary endeavor. So we want to recruit 2 talents for a specific assignment. Okay. Now, there is a predetermined end. At the end of whatever process you want to go through, you want to have those 2 persons who are the best match of whatever requirements you have set out in your job description. Okay. So that is a project. So the question is, how do I structure that process so that I will be able to get that result here, which is the 2 employees or interns, candidates, in a very cost-effective way, and then also to ensure that I get the best out of the lot. So it is very, very essential to understand the principles of project management in structuring such a process. It is.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, this comes in line with the organizations, individuals, and even as a nation. We have our resources that are never enough for us. Yet we have many ideas that we want to convert to projects. How or what brings about the need to initiate a project? What are some of the reasons that will cause an individual, an organization, or a nation to initiate a project?
Yes, it is. One, maybe you want to deliver a certain kind of service. Okay, you want to provide some services. That is so projects normally it's fashioned from the outcomes, from the benefits. Okay, that is supposed to be birthed by the project. Okay, so maybe we want to introduce a new product. I mean, maybe with your by the engagement you've had with your clients, you think that if you have this product, it will appeal to the market, or maybe from your own market survey, that is a project. So, and that will necessitate a project.
Okay.
And that means that but it doesn't mean that just the fact that your customers are requesting for A, you just go out there. That is where the process of structuring a project comes to play, so that you be sure that the benefit you are anticipating will actually materialize and it will actually benefit the people. Okay, so yes, new product development, you want to even improve an existing product, as a system.
Okay.
You want to improve the health of your employees. You can structure a project that will go to maybe employee health enhancement, something. So it is normally hinged on the expected outcomes. What do you want to get out of these?
Okay.
At the national governmental level, what do you want to provide? We want our citizens abroad to have access to their families easily. We want visitors to enter the country easily. So what do? We structure a project that will make traveling to Ghana easy. How? Through maybe the visa application systems. We want to enhance the health delivery to this community or that community. What do? Okay. We put together, we enhance maybe existing health facilities, or we increase so these are all birthed out of the problem that you are attempting to solve, and the benefits you seek to communicate to the recipient.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That brings to mind. So with the various methodologies and frameworks in project management, thinking of our old friend waterfall, which is plan driven in a linear form against the agile and others. If we are looking at the waterfall, we have the initiating the process group when it comes to the project management framework and methodologies by PMI. The PMBOK guides us with the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and then closing. So, as you mentioned, if organizations have competing ideas under the initiating process group, how would, or what are some of the factors or the criteria that the organization or a nation will use in selecting the top priority projects against the others?
Okay, so in initiating a project, one of the critical point is the selection criteria. Okay, because as you rightly said, nobody has enough for everything, from nations to families to companies to individuals. You don't have enough resources for everything that you need. So at every point in time, you will have competing needs. It is up to you, either an individual, organization, company, country, to make some form of determination to select the particular intervention that will give the optimum in terms of benefit at that particular point in time. So what you do is a very detailed and elaborate selection criteria. And there are different models. Okay, you can use a scoring model where you list all the benefits that you seek to attain, and then if you have 3 or 4 projects in mind or interventions in mind, you will be able to score them and see which one will bring you the best of the benefits. Okay. There are many quantitative models. Okay, return on investment, very typical in the corporate setting. You can do some kind of NPV analysis. You can do some of IRR analysis. All those models, what they seek to do is to, at this particular point in time, and with the resources in my hand, which of these interventions, by interventions I mean projects, which of these things should be selected using the constraints of resources and time and the need I'm intending to solve, that will return to me or deliver good value at this particular point in time. So one of the critical things, and that is faced by nations and even corporates, it's what project to select at a particular point in time to be able to give off the best or the optimum benefit at that particular point in time, because you would never have enough for everything that you need at that particular point in time.
Wow. So, when you look at the few documentation that are required of a project leader or a project team, under the initiating, you have your business case, your project charter, among others. So you have rightly elaborated some of the processes that we need to go through in coming out with the top priority project that would serve the best purpose of the people or the recipients or the end users in terms of the benefits. Now, is it the case that those projects that do not find themselves at the very top will be thrown away or will be deferred?
Well, typically in the corporate setting, it will not be thrown away. It might be deferred, yes, but because there are projects going on almost all the time. I mean, whichever project comes out as the top based on your business case. I mean, normally you even start with feasibility. Okay, in the national or government setting, it may not, because there is also what we call the social construct, okay, the social impact. So in the at the national level, you might not always go with the top profitable projects, because when it comes to public service, there is also what we call the public good. Okay, that is the differentiation between the public and private.
Okay.
For most corporate, unless it is a CSR project. If it is not a CSR project, but it is driven by some other economic, other profitability or market share or something, then obviously you will look at the projects that returns good value from your feasibility or from your business case. Okay, but sometimes there is also the social good, okay, especially from the public sector. What happens with the other project is that, I mean, you are doing the selection because of resource constraints. So as and when you have or you build up enough resources, you can always go back to your pool, and maybe other projects would have been added to that pool, and then you go through that same cycle of selection. Yes, if you had enough money, you would have done all of them, because obviously that mix would have returned more results to you as the corporate or to the nation. But because of resource limitations, you will need to do a selection. So you don't throw it away, actually. I mean, like just like it literally.
Okay.
But you go back to it, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for those insights. Now, let me find out from you. There are some key pillars that, every organization, nation, or even individual you could have to guide your purpose in life. You can talk of the mission, the vision, the objectives, goals, initiatives, among others. How do these dictate the projects that we select?
Okay, so the mission and the vision of an organization is typically what sets you apart, or what is supposed to drive the organization. Okay, and that is very broad. It's at the, let's say, at the top level. Okay, so they are supposed to guide what the organization one stands for, to what they believe in and what they do. Okay, so that is very broad. But beneath that, you are able to select for every season in the life of the organization a particular strategy that you want to follow. That will then be broken down into specific objectives, strategic objectives that you want to achieve. But the mission and the vision of the organization are the overarching drivers of the direction of the organization and what they stand for. And that is why you go to, especially maybe a funding agency, and they will say that, no, we don't fund this kind of projects. Okay. We fund this type of activities. Okay. Because there is a vision that guides what they stand for and what they do.
Okay.
Yes, so that is at the broad level. Okay. But beneath that, then they can prioritize maybe over a 3-year period or 5-year period, and that generates into strategic plans, and then you go down to objectives and how you best projects.
Great. So would you agree with me that projects then become the vehicle that will take us from our origin to the destination where we want to be in the long-term regime, as in with regards to the vision? It is through projects that will be able to achieve them. Would you agree with me, or any other school of thought that may want to say so?
No, in fact, it doesn't need agreement. Okay. That is what it is. Okay. I mean, you can't say you disagree. Okay. There is no way. How else would you achieve your strategic objective?
Very well.
There is no option.
It is becoming much more interesting. Thank you for setting the tone for what we are going to do in the next session where we come back. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Let me remind you to join the conversation, share your comments. You may ask your questions and also share the links with your colleagues. When we come back, we are going to discuss specific projects at the corporate and national level. Thank you, and see you. Hello, viewers. Welcome once again. We are already getting your feedback, and we are highly appreciative of your interest in this session and the other episodes. We are bringing you these episodes and that are filled with live nuggets from a project practitioner and a very accomplished one. We have been having a discussion on projects generally, and we are zeroing in on the National Cathedral. And Percy has already given us some golden nuggets that are applicable on all other projects and not only the National Cathedral. We have been looking at the situation where Percy should take up that project as a project manager, some of the remedies that he will be implementing to lead us to a successful and a self-sustaining project product or outcome. Percy, we are back. Yeah. We are now trying to understand on such a project, what will be your framework for identifying, classifying, and managing risk that are associated with a project such as the National Cathedral?
Well, every project has risk, yes, and typically for construction projects, and especially for such a national project, so you can start off from deployment risk right down to even contracting risk, the type of contract arrangement you put into place, to financial risk, because most of these contracts are structured in either USD, okay, and maybe you are going to fund from a Ghana cedi source, if you are lucky to get some inflows by way of donations from foreign partners, then maybe you can offset that easily. So yes, but the most critical thing is when we come to risk management, you are also not only looking at the negative risk. I want to look at it, particularly if it is in a new location setting. There are quite a number of positive risks. Okay, and typically for a positive risk, you either exploit it or enhance it to your advantage. Okay, it is when the risk is negative, then you tend to either avoid it, and you can avoid, yes, by changing your entire plan. Maybe you change the contractor entirely, or the delivery approach, or you mitigate, or you transfer. Those are for negatives. But for this one, I think I see a lot of positives that can be exploited. And for example, so hypothetically in a new location, so in this new city, new capital, as part of this new city or new capital, so the project can work in partnership with other agencies. So for example, the Ghana Tourism Authority, and then you make sure that within a certain radius from the project site, you secure the lands, okay, for other adjacent developments. Okay, you are not going to do that development, but you are going to leverage on that development to make sure that your project, which is the National Cathedral project, becomes sustainable and self-sustaining going forward. Okay, so you can work with whichever agency is in charge, and make sure that within a certain radius from the project, these lands should be demarcated specifically for these activities. So eateries, I have said that earlier, for hotels or accommodation, what type of any guest houses, lodges, whatever it is, for tourist sites, tourist attractions, for bookshops, anything that will ensure that the stay of your customers. I mean, you are building the project for visitors. Your customers are visitors. So and the driving force is to enhance the tourist attraction of the Edgeways. So you want to add as many complementary services that will help you to also make a lot of revenue to be able to self-sustain. Okay, so those are some of, they are risks, but they are positive risks. So you exploit, you enhance them, or you can give them to other agencies that are better placed to be able to materialize, ensure that those risks materialize to the advantage of your project.
Okay.
So that's how I will look at it.
Okay, that's very important. But you fell short of talking about the negative risk, and like you started with the currency volatility between the US dollar and the Ghana cedi. Would you want to throw some more light on that?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, financial risk is key, because if you are not beyond a certain level, your contractor might be compelled to ask for a variation. It can impact your contract pricing. So obviously you look at the markets and structure your contract such that you'll be able to mitigate that. Okay, so I don't want to go into technicalities. So typically, even though the contract will be arranged in maybe USD, I'm sure the contractors, a lot of their costs, or most of their costs, will be local. Now the dollar, the cedi is appreciating, yes. So the cedi is gaining more value against the dollar. Okay. So what it means is that if their cost is in Ghana cedis, they are gaining. Yes, if their cost is in Ghana cedis, and obviously for
you mean the contractors?
Yeah, the contractors. Okay, so it is not inuring to their disadvantage to warrant a discussion around variations and contract reviews and things like that. Okay, so financial risks, obviously, but to the extent that the project and even the project environment does not manage, okay, all you can do is to make sure that you put in measures. Okay. So, for example, you're contracting or peg or assume or hedge, whatever word you want to use, the dollar around a certain figure. Okay. So it is only beyond that for a certain period of time, then discussions around reviews will be able to come into play. Okay. So that is a way of, and typically for such big. Is it 10 key projects? It is, you're almost moving on a lot of the risks to your contractor. Okay. Because of I think that it is mostly, and if it is not an EPC arrangement, the contracting arrangement will be such that you are moving a lot of your risks to your subcontractor. To take, so that I can have some peace of mind.
Yeah, you are right, but the case has been so because almost all the time it is the contractors that come asking for variation, and as a project manager, you did not, or you might not have anticipated a situation where you would rather be at the losing end and the contractors are gaining, and that is why it is important that even as a buyer, you should also think of such situations, and certain regimes like you mentioned or strategies like hedging comes in handy, whether you know it might come your way or against you. It is important that we do consider such risk strategies so that when it comes as it is now, the sponsor or the buyer will not also be at a disadvantage. But
I think that almost always such deployments will be maybe a firm pricing, contracting arrangement. Okay. So the pricing will be firmed up.
I get you.
Okay. It is only in very strange, excessive conditions. Then obviously the contractor may not have any option to come back for a renegotiation or some variations.
Okay. Thank you very much, Percy. We'll take a short break and some message from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Stick and stay with us. Welcome back, viewers, to your favorite session, Frank's Project Pause. With me once again to continue the discussion. I am your host, Frank Antwi-Agyei, and we have here Percy. We have already started the discussion, and as you may be aware, the tone has been set for the main part of the discussion for the day. We are still waiting for you to join the discussion. Let's hear from you. Percy, I love the part where you did mention that when it comes to some of the projects, it may not necessarily be profitability, especially when it comes to the national level. There may be other reasons, and when it comes to that, we don't necessarily look at the profit in terms of money, especially if it is for social good. You also did mention that because our resources are never enough, we prioritize to do the ones that will bring us the greatest benefit. I read this. Listen carefully if it is familiar. I made a pledge to Almighty God that He was gracious enough to grant my party, the MPP, and I victory in the 2016 elections after 2 unsuccessful attempts. So I will help build a cathedral to His glory and honor. This was said by former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo at the sword cutting ceremony of the construction of the National Cathedral. At what point does the pledge or the promise a leader makes to God or to his or her people become a policy that drives major national projects?
Interesting question. Well, all national projects invariably are the promises of political leaders. Okay, so if you look all over the world, political leaders communicate their intentions through promises. It can be verbal, but most authentically it is captured through a document they normally call the manifesto. The manifesto is just a compilation of promises in terms of a policy direction or what they intend to do. So I think that is number one. That is the first thing. Even at the corporate level, most organizational projects also emanate from promises, either from the board level, from the boardroom, or from executive management. Okay, so that in itself, it's not an issue. President Kufuor did the national health insurance. It was a political promise, and that was activated, delivered, and then we now have the scheme running. President Mahama spoke of the Terminal 3 airport in his first term. They secured funding, and it was also delivered. So, yes, from the political standpoint, all intentions are communicated through promises. But beyond the promises, that is where proper structured project management principles need to apply, because we have always indicated that resources are always not enough. So then you need to go through a series of actions, processes, to be able to filter the most impacting use of your scarce resources at any particular point in time. So that would be my answer.
Okay. And that's very, very elaborate and insightful, because just like you have mentioned, all projects come about as a result of ideas that were once muted by people. And one instructive statement that you made it's got to do with securing the necessary funding. I've also seen some publications in the newspaper attempting to discuss some of the ills that have befallen that project of the National Cathedral. And with your knowledge in project management against that of what you have concerning the National Cathedral, would you say the necessary funding or the needed funding was secured?
No, I mean, personally, as a cultural heritage and religious project, that project is a novel one, personally. But also personally, I think that how that entire project was structured is problematic. It is not just the funding, even though you're asking about the funding. I'm not sure we got any funding. The chunk of the money spent all came from the government coffers. I'm not sure monies from central government should be considered as funding for the project, because the initial communication, as I understood, was that that project was supposed to be heavily funded from private contributions, or yes, something like that. So yes, it is a novel project, but the structuring of the project was hugely problematic, and that is, it is no brainer that it was not successful. It would have been a shocker if it was successful, rather.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very emphatic. And as you mentioned, it is not on the problem is not only with the funding, but you have also indicated that the funding, the amount that has been paid or that has gone into the project so far, came from the national coffers, contrary to the communication that came. What other areas would you want to let us know, based on your knowledge of that project, that could also have been made better?
Oh, okay. So in terms of the structuring of the project, I mean, for a very long time, the narration around the project was the fact that it is a personal pledge by one person to God. Okay, if you start off a supposed national project with that communication, then you don't get a lot of buy-in. Okay, you are creating the impression that it is like a personal endeavor that you are committing as an appreciation to God. Okay, so getting buy-in, and one of the critical points of project success is stakeholder engagement and management. Okay, I mean, if you read the tablets, the writings around the project, you will see that maybe after some time, I think they realized the mistake around that communication. So the PR changed into it's a national project to thank God. So later on it became, this is a national project, this is a national project. Okay. So that said, at least we have cured the earlier bit. But if it's a national project, what do? It means that you have national actors. Okay. Stakeholder engagement. Your stakeholders can derail your project. It is very basic in project management. And there is what we use in project planning. There are tools. There is the power influence grid that we normally use to assess the power levels, the influence level of your stakeholders. There is the power interest. You look at the power and the interest level of your... I mean, if it is a national project, obviously, then every citizen has a stake in it. Obviously, you can't call every citizen to the table discussing. But at least the citizens have representative, which is the institution of parliament. So when you have half of the people of parliament saying that they do not know what is happening, or communicating that Either they're against it or they do not have. For example, in the previous parliament, a chunk of, the entire minority, I wouldn't say a chunk, minority, which is almost like 50% of the population of Ghana in terms of representation, give the impression that they have no knowledge about the funding of the project. I mean, that is a recipe for disaster. Project success hinges gravely on stakeholders, how you engage them. Yeah. Because project stakeholders have power. Project stakeholders have influence. I mean, your funding can be impacted if you do not engage your project stakeholders properly. They will not see eye to eye with you as you go on with the execution of your project. So that was a huge deficit, in my opinion, on that particular project. You cannot do a project in the name of the nation, a national project, and then not get the full buy-in of the representatives of the people. That is number one. Okay. Number two, I found the leadership structure of that whole project problematic. I mean, yes, it is. I think somewhere the government inaugurated a 13-member board, all of them clergymen, clergymen. And then the project itself, I think in 2019 thereabout, was registered as a company limited by guarantee, not by shares. And then this board of advisors or advisory board became the board of that company. Okay. Now, at the advisory level, it will appear to be all right. But then you go down to the administration of that project. That is also headed by a clergyman. I mean, this is a $400 million project. And what is the project seeking to do? One, the major deliverable in that project is fundraising. There is no fundraising, marketing, sponsorship expertise in the board and in the administration. Okay. Two, the next thing is contracting. This is a $400 million project. Yeah. Contracting. There is no procurement specialist. There is no legal specialty in the board, both in the board and at the management level. Three, you are doing a project. There is no project management expertise both at the board and at the management level. Four, after you are done with the project, granted, there is an operational and facilities management expertise that is needed. This was absent both at the board and at the administration or management level. It cannot be. I mean, no private individual can go to a financing agency for, let's say, a $5 million facility for something, maybe a road construction. And then all the team that you put together in your proposal, nobody has an idea about. I think that the misconception was about the word cathedral. Mm-hmm. So the assumption was that because there is a cathedral in it, it is a clergyman issue. No, but it is not. It is not. Okay. That project is not an ecclesiastical exercise. It is not a theological. We are not going to interpret scriptures there. Mm. We are going to find ways to raise money and to build a structure and to manage the structure such that it will be self-sustaining. Mm. Okay, so not to discount the competences of the clergymen. I mean, yes, you should have some representation of clergy. Okay. But let's say up to 30-40%. The rest should be. And if you want to see there is a report by the Shraj, okay? You don't want to sound political, so you don't want to say what political entities are saying. Yeah. But Shraj is an independent constitutional body. Yeah. and they did a detailed analysis of the entire project. And if you look at some of the findings, these are the things. Okay, procurement bridges. Obviously, there will be, because there's no procurement expertise there. You see financial breaches. Obviously, there will be, because there's no competence there. And then you talk about corporate governance, even minutes of meetings. Obviously, because as clergymen, they said they trust each other. You don't have to write anything. But for Christ's sake, this is not a 50,000 Ghana city project. This is 400. So structurally, I think a lot could have been done. Okay, a lot could have been done to be able to engender the confidence and get a buy-in of a lot of people. And obviously, that is why it failed.
Right. Percy, you've put everything in a very, very good perspective. Looking at the constitution of the advisory council against that of the management and all that, coming into terms with the reality on the ground. We have a situation on our hand, whether the project has been abandoned, whether it has stalled, or whatever the case may be. As a project professional, if you are asked to take up this project, what would be the steps that you would take to remedy some of the ills, or if not all, and set a proper tone for that project for it to succeed? I know it's a huge question, but I know you can also share your expertise with us.
Yes, obviously. I mean, but there are very fundamental. I mean, take the project location. I have a very big problem with the location of the project. Okay, they say it is on a 14-acre, a location that is secured by demolishing multi-million-dollar properties in the center of the capital to be able to get that. It is problematic. Why is it problematic? Because of noise pollution, traffic management, accessibility issues. Because, within 1 acre radius of the current location, there are other edifices. The sports stadium is there. The conference center is there. Parliament House is there. In engineering, you design for the worst conditions. So the easiest thought that should cross anybody's mind is what happens to that enclave when there is an activity at the National Cathedral, at the sports stadium, and at the conference center. How would you manage traffic there? Even now, without the National Cathedral, when there is a match, let's say Accra has a folk and Kotoko, just at the sports stadium, traffic management becomes a problem. So you design for the worst conditions. Okay, so back to your question. If you asked me, well, I have a personal bias in terms of interest in the project. I don't think that it is a bad project.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think that it was structured badly. Yeah. One, the location will have to change. Because this is a project that anticipates 40,000 people per year moving to that section. One of the critical conditions when you are doing capital projects is that capital projects have a tendency to improve the local economy. Okay, so when you are doing a massive infrastructure project in a particular location, the economy of that location is able to improve because of just that project. Okay. Yeah. So most people have used capital projects as a way of spurring the local economic. So the cathedral can open up to new tourism sites, new eateries, new restaurants, new hotel facilities. So it is a way of developing. That place was already developed.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I'm giving you the reason why I think the location should be changed. In 1959, when Nkrumah wanted to build the the Peduasi Lodge. Nkrumah was living at what we call Flagstaff House. The Peduasi Lodge was supposed to be a presidential retreat center. Between the Flagstaff and a breeden, Adenta was all bush, 1959. Yeah. Okay, but he chose that section, and his intention is that it's supposed to open up that section of the country. And now if you take the entire Akuapem Ridge, from Oyarefa to the end of Akuapem Ridge, Peduasi is the most expensive. It is because of the lodge.
Okay.